You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Well, here we are, folks. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. We have a little bit of stability issue with our internet connection. Hopefully everything is looking and sounding good. Jolene, if you would, let me know if we've got a nice smooth audio and video. Anyways, folks, I might say, hey, Scotty, up the power. In fact, Scotty, beam me up. It's SHTF down here. Unbelievable. This is the monologue and the daily Q&A, and if you're on Patreon, you are live. Don't let anyone else dissuade you, folks. If you want to come to Patreon, you can. Thank you much, Jolene. Come to Patreon. Daily, live Q&A. Ask questions, get answers, get involved. Take action on your own behalf. Where I'm going to start this show is one of our chief. Well, he's the commander-in-chief, but he is a chief ding-dong, chief dumbass. Did we or did we not predict and say, okay, here they come. They're coming after our guns, the Second Amendment. Up Chuck Schumer the other day said, build back Biden style, build back better, build back boneheads. He said that was dead, done. Or was that Manchin said it was dead and done? But I say it's kapuchkin. It's over. So they're coming after the Second Amendment again. Today, Biden held a news conference. And this is a quote, folks. Quote, there's no amendment that's absolute. And he's speaking of the Second Amendment. But how about this? No right is absolute. How about my right to live? That includes breathing, eating, drinking, going to the bathroom, buying food. The right to life is huge, folks. The big three categories, right, are pretty important as far as rights go, and they encompass our whole rights program: life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That includes property ownership, free mobility, the right to go shopping, to buy things, to engage in commerce, to go to church, to worship as we please, to say whatever the hell we want. Folks, Biden is pushing the Great Reset agenda, 100% full speed. FJB and let's go Brandon. In fact, a black dude was on TV. He totally trolled the outside live by pulling up a Let's Go Brandon flag and putting it on TV. It was great. Totally trolls the president right there. Yeah, there are absolute rights, Joe. That's why they're called rights. You see, privileges have limitations. Privileges can be revoked. Privileges are granted by government. Rights come from God, not government. There's a big difference. And I, for one, am going to choose to exercise my rights over government's authority and privilege to serve me, you, and all of us. Patrick Moore, you sent me a message. I'm going to have to get to that in a little bit when we're done here. And then we have this pretty important stuff coming from Kathleen. She says, Jake Lang is incarcerated in D.C. gulag for the January 6th fiasco. Hunger strike. He's trying to get attention from the public, but mostly to shed light on the murders and horrendous treatment by prison officials, District of Columbia criminals, District of criminals. He was interviewed on the Peter Stew show on February 2nd. That would be yesterday. They allowed him 15 minutes. Then he's cut off. Maybe John would consider interviewing him as well. I would like to interview people in prison. Geez, how do I go about doing that? That's a bit of a tricky thing. Hey, Washington, D.C. Gulag, this is John. I think you guys are pretty much scum. I'd like to speak and put one of your prisoners there in the Bastille. I would like to put them on the air with me live so America can hear what a bunch of douchebags you are. Will you give me permission to speak to a prisoner? They're probably not going to like me a whole lot. They're probably not going to send me Christmas cards, but I really would like to interview them. We're going to start doing more, folks. Let me see if I can work that out. Maybe I can convince them to do just that. All right. Speaking of Biden and the District of Columbia and District of Criminals, Senior Biden went on to say a couple of more things about guns. He went on to claim, folks, that a Glock with a 40-round magazine is a, quote, weapon of war. Let me tell you what a weapon of war is, folks. The oldest weapon of war that I know of is a rock. That's right. Whether thrown through the hand or with a sling, the way David did to Goliath and killed him, slayed him in war. That's a weapon of war, folks, a rock. How about this? A sharp stick, a blunt stick. Both of those weapons of war, right? When used in battle, when two armies are on the field of battle, arrayed against one another, or hiding in stealth and wait for an ambush, say, whether it's open warfare or guerrilla warfare, whether it's small or huge armies, that is war, and everything, folks, becomes a weapon of war, including your own fist, your own teeth in some cases. Talk to some old jarheads, some old soldiers, if you can find any alive from World War II or Korea. You'll find out that things get really nasty out there. Really, really nasty. And speaking of nasty and war, Russia, folks, Russia. They're pushing the whole Russia war narrative, even though the United States relies on Russia for both oil and uranium for our power plants. And you can't just say, screw the power plants, we'll turn those things off. 20% of our baseload energy, folks, comes from nuclear power in the United States of America. You can't just turn it off. You turn that off, you've got no more power. Woo! So the Washington Post is reporting more claims by U.S. intelligence saying that Russia is planning to stage a false flag. They've given us details now, folks, details of how Russia is going to stage a false flag. How would they know this? They got spies? They got really good cameras and listening devices? They plan on producing a fake video showing a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2 drone attacking pro-Russian separatists in Ukraine's eastern regions. The eastern regions, folks, are the ones touching Russia. And they want to fabricate this for the pretext for an invasion. Once again, look up at Ukraine, look up at Russia. What did Joe Biden just do down in Syria? Oh, I want to talk about that some more. Remember this shit that Joe Biden and the Biden administration talked about with regard to Ukraine and Russia? How dare Russia threaten the border of Ukraine? Borders are sacrosanct. Borders are what? Important. It's the sanctity of a nation's sovereignty is enforced by its border. And never mind the U.S.-Mexico border. But not only ignoring our own border, folks, he violates the Syrian border in order to go into Syria to kill the leader of ISIS inside Syria. Didn't the United States have to violate that border? Violate the sanctity of the Syrian border in order to do this? And I think I covered quite well the ISIS, Al-Qaeda, U.S., McCain, CIA connection between the Obama administration, Benghazi, Syria, the banking cartel, the oil cartel, and Russia opposing. I think I covered that in the earlier video pretty good. What do you guys think? I mean, are they pushing for war or what? They're pushing it. They're pushing it. It is unbelievable, folks. They're pushing. Get your questions in. Get your comments in. Here we go. This is still true, folks. It hasn't changed. 70% of Americans are saying it's time to accept cerveza-bug and get on with our lives. Japan, as stated earlier, has released some information on Bazooka Joe. They've released some information on cerveza-bug. They've released some information on horse paste. India has done very similar things. Many countries, we've even done it in our country. They can't stop it. The genie's out of the bottle, the shit's out of the horse. The science, folks, as far as I'm concerned, right here on the Prepared Mind channel, the science has shown us that, yeah, flus and colds do kill people. They bring people down. They drop them into lower immunity, poor health, and they can succumb and die. But the cure isn't to give people heart attacks, strokes, myocarditis, inflamed heart, bleeding from eyes, ears, nose, mouth, rectum, and everything else. Anyways, I mean, it's science. Why don't they ever want to hear from the real science? Oh my God, sorry about that. Had someone banging on the door. All righty. Yeah, can't we just get on with our lives? Unbelievable. What do you guys want to talk about? Please put your questions, comments, suggestions, topics, subject matter. Get them into Jolene, folks, and understand where we're at. You see, I say let's get on with our lives. 70% of America says let's get on with our lives. Foreign pharmaceuticals are saying, yeah, we have the answer. India, Japan, they have the answer. Countries around the world have the answer. But it would appear that here in America, they're not going to give up that easily. You wouldn't believe this, folks. But an assistant principal has threatened to charge maskless elementary school children with trespassing. That's right, folks. A-hole teachers are now threatening children as if they're criminals because they won't wear a face diaper. So the Virginia Attorney General, that's right, that guy again, he is stepping up. I believe the governor is joining him to intervene in Loudoun County. That's right, Loudoun County. Once again, the home of critical race theory being introduced. The home, Loudoun County School, isn't that where that one young man pretending to be a girl went into the girl's bathroom and sexually assaulted one girl, then did it again while the school was hiding the information? This is how reckless these schools are, folks. These school administrators, these school boards, the principals, assistant principals, vice principals, teachers. They want to tape masks on kid, just like out in LA where they're like, you guys get outside, sit on the curb. During snowstorms, it's below freezing. They're sending kids out to sit on the cold concrete curb. Other schools, you're not allowed to go to the bathroom. What is wrong with teachers? I thought they gave a shit. I thought their number one job was to care for the children. Now they're threatening them with being arrested for trespassing. Tell you what, don't send your kids to public schools. Find somebody to do private tutoring in your neighborhood and set up your own schools. Pay for them yourselves. Folks, these public schools are shitholes. Run by shitholes, administrated by shitholes, Teachers are showing themselves to be absolute crap. They think they know better. They think they're smarter. Folks, to be a teacher, you have to have a couple of things, or you should have a lot of patience. You're dealing with children. You should be able to know to read a book and hand out papers to the first kid in the row, count out enough to go all the way back. That is how teachers work. They stand at a board and hold a piece of chalk, and they write what's in the book on the board for the children, then they talk about it. They should know more than the children so they can answer questions about the subject matter. Done. That is teaching. I'm tired of these people being worshipped as some sort of heroes. They're not. They're a bunch of selfish Karens congratulating themselves on a job well done. Really. I mean, I hate to attack teachers that way, folks. I know there's good teachers out there. Teachers that actually do give a shit. I get it. But these teachers in these blue cities, and I feel bad for the good teachers at these cities, folks, but we're going to keep hearing about these awful, awful people. School boards, principals, vice principals, superintendents, and then the absolute trash teachers that have pictures of mass murderers on their wall. What would we think if they had a picture of Adolf Hitler on the wall, glamorizing and glorifying Adolf Hitler? Will they love to put pictures of Che Guevara, Chairman Mao on the wall? Why not Joseph Stalin? He's a mass murderer too. Why not Lenin? He's a mass murderer as well. Oh, they'll get there, folks, if we don't stop them now. And thank God that you are taking every step needed to stop them now. You get prepared. Number one, you go to thepreparedmind.club. You get your food, long-term chow. You get your water. Get your water system to purify water, Berkey water filter. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Get it together, folks. This is a noisy office. I thought I was going to get a nice little quiet office scene today. Good golly. Don't forget, Illinois wants to have the right to give the public health department the power to quarantine you. Really, that's authority the government should have. There's a healthcare emergency because they say something is contagious. Look out, folks. Philosophers going bad. Oh, you bet. Bring it on. A former UCLA, quote, philosopher of race. This is this thing, philosophy of race. He was a lecturer. He was arrested, folks, for threatening to commit a mass shooting against white members of the philosophy department. What is wrong with these people? You know, it doesn't matter what color you are. If you threaten to kill other people based on their color, I don't hear anyone out there, folks, in colleges, in organizations like the ACLU. I don't hear any major legal groups, guilds, calling for the murder of black people or brown people or Asian people or any people. I don't hear any right-wing groups or right-wing individuals out there doing this. But we do have a whole lot of these leftists in colleges. I mean, we got teachers, you know, threatening to throw children in jail for trespassing because they won't wear a mask. You've got this ding-dong here, this lecturer arrested because he wants to, you know, shoot white members of the philosophy department. Where do these people get off? Unbelievable. Well, if you want answers from the government, forget it. Forget it. Remember Joe Biden started that crap? Well, you know, I'm going to nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court of the United States of America. Blah, 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 right? So Jen Psaki, you know Jen Psaki, she gave basically a no answer when asked if Joe was going to pledge to nominate an Asian American to the Supreme Court. You know, these people are nuts. You're just not going to get the right answers out of them. It's not going to happen. So the no answer on Asian judge, hey, what about a Native American justice or a Pakistani, Indian, or a Palauan justice? What about someone from the LGBTQIA crowd? Will they get a justice on the court? What about animals? Shouldn't there be a dog or a cat on the court answering questions that benefit them? There may not be citizens. They may not be citizens, but neither all the illegal immigrants. And they are allowed rights and free speech. So why not animals, huh? I mean, doesn't everyone deserve to have their very special, unique, and screwy opinions reflected in our legal decisions? Or was this position, the Supreme Court justice position, supposed to be about the law of the land? FJB and let's go, Brandon. Unbelievable. Okay. All you have to do is get the Jim Jones juice, folks, and you can do whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. You can go wherever you want, and everything will be A-okay, right? A-okay.
Hey folks, at the Prepared Mind channel, we take your health very seriously. That's why we recommend the Jim Jones juice. That's right, the Jim Jones juice. Get yourself a can today.
Just the friendly homes of America are always prepared for hospitality. Not only on Thanksgiving Day, but every day, all the year around. No matter who comes to call or who happens to drop in.
There's nothing like hitting the Jim Jones juice, laying one down, and feeling that stuff enter your bloodstream. Oh.
Did Bill leave his pop and candy only half eaten? No, sir.
Oh, heart attack! Defibrillator! Ah! Clot! Clot! Ah! Don't forget, call an ambulance when you get your Jim Jones juice, because it's that good. Oh! 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 Oh!
Okay, folks, I've got the solution. I've figured it out. I know how we can move on, right? Scotty, beam me up, because it says HTF down here. Wait a minute. Wait. This worked for Bill Clinton. Huh, I tried it. I didn't like it. I didn't inhale. Well, guess what? You know, the lying cerveza whore of Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti, claims he, quote, held his breath when he took a maskless photo with Magic Johnson. This makes perfect sense. Anytime you don't want to wear a mask, just take it off. If anyone says anything, say, I'm holding my breath, like Mayor Garcetti. Problem solved. We can get on with our lives. We just hold our breaths 24 hours a day. That way we're not breathing in or breathing out. I think that's a fabulous idea. That makes about as much sense saying that that's what you're doing as anything else that's being tried. I don't need a mask. I'm holding my breath. Wouldn't that just drive them nuts? Do it. Somebody do it. I'm going to do it as soon as I'm done here. Well, at some point in the next 24 hours, when I'm done here, I'm going to go out in public and I'm going to try and find one of these mask Nazis, and I'm going to tell them I'm holding my breath. Unbelievable, folks. Is Dr. Doom the booster rooster? Is he done? Are we done with this? How many more have to die or be injured before we're done with this? How many more lies do we have to get out of Garcetti and Pelosi and Trudeau and Newsom and Biden? How many more, right? How many more? I may have been a tad premature. I just found this again. I was a little premature when I said that England, Ireland, Denmark, the Czech Republic, and Sweden had gotten rid of all of their rules, regulations, mandates, and masks. I was wrong about Sweden. I was a tad premature on saying Sweden was done like everyone else. I let that insider info out a tad too early. I just got ahead of myself. Whoops-a-daisy. But Sweden has finally come out and lifted nearly all their restrictions, all of their silliness, and said, quote, we can open up society. They weren't 100% done, not yet. They're still not quite 100% done. It's incredible, folks, how these people are, how these government officials are. Who do they think they are? You know, this idea that I'm not allowed to breathe, right? That I can't go where I want, that I'm possibly hurting someone just by my mere existence. It's incredible. What they're actually doing, folks, is they're covering up an incredible economic blunder. They shut everything down, not to cause the economic damage. The economic damage is already caused, but shutting everything down cemented it. It cemented it. These people in charge, folks, are evil. They need to be called out for what they are and what they've done. This garbage that they switched from cerveza bug and we're now going to go to war with Russia. Representative Madison Cawthorn, who has been fighting, literally arguing and demanding intelligent thought be used, he finally has just come out. Now I want you to remember the opposition to the Republicans. Jolene, I've got some update on Steve. Madison Cawthorn, I want you to remember the nuclear opposition to Trump, and their answer, they're saying for Trump was fuck Trump. That was everywhere, folks, coming from celebrities, from media everywhere, from other politicians, from rhino Republicans. You know, the nice way to say that was never Trump, but we know it meant fuck Trump. Well, fuck Joe Biden exists, does it not? And if you want the nicer version, it's let's go Brandon. Well, I've got no problem here with what Madison Cawthorn has said. Ready? Quote, the sons and daughters of America are not foot soldiers for your party's inept geriatric despot to be dispatched at the whims of an idiot. That's what Representative Madison Cawthorn said. He's joining the likes of Big Marge, Representative Boebert, Representative Getz, Louis Gohmert, Representative, and others, folks. It's time that we go nuclear on these people. They've destroyed and done enough damage. They're attacking children. They're threatening parents. They're coming after us all. They're falsely prosecuting, imprisoning, and hell, persecuting everyone. It's not getting better, folks. I wish Scotty could beam me up. It is SHTF down here, and it's not going to get better. But I guess I could beam myself up to the RMZ, could I not? Well, I'm not doing that, folks. I'm staying right here with you as long as you guys are supporting this channel and keeping me in this desk in Studio B. Over in Studio A, we're down in the dungeon, down in the outback, and down in the bunker, right? Hunker in the bunker. Folks, you've heard of the shot fired, the shot heard around the world, Lexington and Concord. Well, I think up in Canada, we've now had the exhaust note heard around the world. Canadian truckers have vowed to continue, quote, until it's a free nation again, end quote. This is not a hunger strike. It's a trucking strike. It is a transportation strike. It is a transportation roadblock. You want to put a roadblock in front of our lives? You want to destroy and impair our freedoms? Well, guess what, Ottawa? Guess what, Canada? Well, at least the government officials, this is what you've asked for. The tow trucks were called in to remove people. The tow truck said, got the cerveza. Cerveza bug. Sorry, no hable, we're not going to help you guys. The farmers are joining in. The citizens are joining in. It is time to free Canada. It is time to knock this shit off. But don't worry, folks. Right behind, they're beating war drums now. They're beating them loud, and they're beating them fast. All right, that's enough for me. Let's do this. Let's get to you guys. What is it you want to talk about? You don't have to ask an entirely complex question. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to have an idea, a concept, a statement, an opinion. Share your opinions too. All of that is good. This is what we're here for, folks. It's to talk, to share, to learn from one another, and to come to our own conclusions. It's time for the Q&A.
Are you ready?
Woo! Okay, folks on Patreon, this is a great deal. I love being here because I get to talk with you guys. You're the most rational, receptive crowd that I've ever dealt with. Love it. So if you're on YouTube, subscribe. Now we're going to hear from the Slim One. He said, did you know that your parents must be born in this country for you to become president? Kamala's parents were not born here. What do you think about that, John? I thought that in order for us to qualify, one of the qualifications was that the person running for office had to live here. I wasn't sure. You could be right. I'm drawing a blank on this, but I thought it was just, if I want to be president, I have to be born here. I didn't know my parents did. But in either event, right, we've had nothing but trouble coming from this. If you recall, Barack Hussein, Barry Soetoro Obama, and that's right, he had aliases he went by. His life that he lived, where was he born, came into question. Was he born in Hawaii, as he claimed? Was he born in Kenya? You know, one of his parents, I believe, was Kenyan. I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's hard to get a straight answer out of this fucking guy. But yeah, we've got troubles. Kamala, I don't believe qualifies for president, but you know, maybe I'm just being a little prejudicial because I think she's an idiot. That's right. I'm not prejudicial over color, folks. I'm prejudicial over intelligence. And I don't think she has the intelligence to run a kindergarten class. All right, Jay says, explain to me the science of protection. The protected want to force the unprotected to get protected so they don't infect the protected from what they're supposed to be protected from, right? You nailed it, Jay. You got it down. The science of protection, the medicinal science. Now, I'm no expert. But if you listen carefully to the booster rooster, the little cock that could, Dr. Fauci, he'll explain everything to you. If you just go back and start watching every interview he's done from March of 2020 till now, you'll get a very precise, clear picture of exactly all the ways that he can change science around to fit his needs. But remember, he's the ultimate authority. Ultimate authority. Yeah, and snowflakes, grow up. But yes, okay, so if you want to be protected from the not deadliest thing ever, you get one, then you get two, then you get the Jim Jones juice booster, 3. And that, well, in Israel, you get 4. You get all that, and then you can still get sick. You can still go to the hospital, still get hospitalized. You can still die. And it's unbelievable. Yeah. So in other words, they keep telling you something different about what the Jim Jones juice does, how it works, how effective it is, how safe it is. We keep getting different answers. All we want is a straight answer, the truth, the facts. Now, if you listen to all the other experts out there, you'll see, folks, there's a lot more to this. On the Prepared Mind on Patreon, you'll get those articles. So, by the way, Steve in hospital still. Steve, USMC, no tolerance. Prayers for Steve, please. He's dealing with some medical issues, and he's got a hold of me today to let me know he's still there, still kicking, still breathing, and saying hi and thank you to everyone. So Gary D checks in, and he says this: I saw a story where an elementary teacher made the white students in class apologize to the black students in class because of white supremacy. When will this crap end? Well, Gary, shit like this is now pervasive in the education system. I was of the opinion when my children were in school 10 years ago, I was of the opinion that, it won't come to my school, because even though I'm in California, I'm in a very rural, very Republican school district. Well, lo and behold, all of that shit got into the school. Not this CRT shit. My kids were out of school before that started. But I'm going to identify as something that I'm not. I can't figure out my gender, even though my hands are in my pants. There were kids going to school that thought they were dogs or other animals, and they would literally bite other children. And this kind of crap was allowed. My son was continuously threatened with sexual assault by the LGBT type crowd. Horrific crap. Complained to the administration, nothing was done. The best we can do, folks, is go to these school board meetings and demand that they knock this shit off. And when they don't, you vote them out. You have a recall. And that is what's going on around the country. Parents are getting active. They're going in, and these people on these school boards, folks, feel like they're being threatened. They need a safe space. They need a timeout. They need a teddy bear. They need a hug. If you were telling my kid that he needs to apologize for being white, that would be something, right? I think I might have something to say about that if I were a parent. Now, that being said, my son had probably the most ethnically diverse circle of friends in the entire school. I think every shade, color, and nationality was represented in the people he hanged out with, which is cool, right? I was like, hey, all right, whatever. But to force it on people, not to force integration, but to force this divisive technique to dehumanize one group and to show another group that dehumanizing others is good. It's absolutely ridiculous. In fact, a black kid my son went to school with wrote papers, satirical papers, harassing basically the teacher, letting him know he should get A's on everything because of his race. And, I don't know what grades the kid got, but, it was a farce. It was a joke played on the teacher to show them how stupid they were. At least that's the story I was presented with by the kids. Thought it was hilarious. But, the thing is most of these kids I won't say most. A big percentage of these kids don't buy this shit. I'm going to guess the kids that don't buy it are conservative, free-minded, logical thinking children. They are better protected than others. I do have a friend who has a son that has changed their entire life around because they bought hook, line, and sinker the liberal communist crap, even though this child came from a very conservative house. So they can turn kids on us, folks, but for the most part, you raise your kids right, they'll make it through. This needs to be stopped, right? We need Scotty to beam down, bowls of courage for parents to eat before they go in and start dealing with these communists. They need to be kicked out. William C. says, John, have you heard of the Seneca effect? Why growth is slow, but collapse is rapid. I think this applies now in the USA. I believe I've heard of the Seneca effect. I've never studied it, so I can't speak intelligently about it. Growth is slow, but collapse is rapid. When we're talking about growth being slow and rapid collapse, we're talking about nations and empires. It applies to all the United States of America, It applies to the Romans. It applies to the Persians. It applies to every empire that has ever come and gone. It's not unique, but it is an interesting effect that is visible when you look at a timeline. Right? It's the principle, I believe, is universal in all things and not just empires. For example, building a house. I am a general contractor. I have developed raw property into housing. It takes months. And I'm not just talking about paperwork and paying frickin' taxes. The amount of taxes I paid, folks, is incredible. It takes months. You have to prepare the ground. Right? You have to bring in materials. You have to put them together piece by piece. Foundation, floor, walls, trusses and roof. Then you have to sheet and cover everything. You have to fill it all in. But one match, and that can be burned to a crisp in one day. What takes months to build takes one day to destroy. Same thing with a nation. It takes decades and decades and decades for a country to realize, to benefit from all of the hard work. Creating farmland requires clearing forest, and then tilling the soil, removing rocks, improving the soil. It takes a long time. It takes years and years to turn just a field into an area where it can grow a bounty of food. Right? And then that food is given to people. They eat it, right? They have more children. Country grows. They do more farming. They do more mining. They do more production. It takes years to build all this, but it only takes a mere minutes relative to the time it takes to expand something for a tyrant to go in and stop the production, to burn fields, to burn houses. This is what King George did in colonial America, folks. You plant a field, they go in and burn it. All the energy it took to grow last year's crops, start to finish, harvest it, save enough seed to plant the field the next year, and then you go through all the trouble of plowing, tilling, and preparing that field, planting it, and then the tyrant comes in and destroys it. Now, similarly, a country that is become, shall we say, dependent upon government, entitled, like all these entitled people we have here, they demand of government that they be supplied food. And so government goes out and steals this from others. It's called redistribution of wealth. And so the people that produce go, we're done, no more. They stop working. There's not enough food. People die. They disperse. Empire is over. So it goes in cycles. It takes a long time to go up, 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 up. They get to that point where they become decadent and it's poof, straight down. Moving on, we got Ronan 66. He says, I wonder how long before Creepy Joe is going to hide like Trudeau. This is interesting. Creepy Joe. Let's take a look at Trudeau, though. Let's take a look at Trudeau. I do. Thank you, Jolene. I do need longer. Trudeau is hiding. He doesn't have to hide. He's fully juicinated, yet he's hiding like a child afraid of the boogeyman. Truckers have shown up in the Capitol. They're honking their horns. They're angry. Farmers are showing up. They're driving their tractors on the road. They're angry. The people of Canada are extremely angry, and Trudeau is hiding. It's almost like he doesn't understand why they're so angry with him. I mean, he's just doing what's best for them, is he not? Well, Biden, folks, has lashed out at the press for asking hard questions. He's threatened us. Our patience is growing thin. I'm not going to play the video. What else? Oh, yeah, that's right. He's put that wall up. Folks, they shut down Pennsylvania Avenue. They put bollards, things to stop cars from driving into the White House. They put up a giant fence, big metal fence. It's electrified. There's armed guards on the roof in the building. There's an entire defense system around the White House. And then they've just now brought in a secondary fence and concrete system. And Biden's afraid. I don't even know if Biden's in the White House. I mean, where's he hiding at? He's got a fake White House set. He's constantly either in Camp David or down in Delaware. We don't even know which Biden is who and where they're at. So how long before Creepy Joe is going to hide? If you're a politician and you have to hide from people, and you have all of the massive protection that these people have, I mean, there's practically a small army to guard the president of the United States. What does Trudeau have? I don't know. He does like getting bitch slapped, though. I think that's pretty funny. Oh no, that was Macron. I'm sorry. It was Macron got bitch slapped for being an idiot. These people are all idiots. They're probably afraid because they're idiots. The people are not violent. We really don't want war. We don't want violence on the street. We don't want to have to use the Second Amendment to defend ourselves, our lives, our families' lives, our nation. We don't want to have to do that. But we're prepared to protect our country, to obey our conscience, our oaths. I don't think Biden needs to hide, but he's probably going to. In fact, I would go so far as to say he has been hiding. Stepping out and doing a press conference and then talking about the Second Amendment. He's hiding from the facts. He's hiding from the truth. He said, once they passed the Second Amendment, you couldn't buy cannons anymore. It's like, dude, you can still go buy cannons. Literally on the internet. Look up cannons. You can buy cannons. All 50 states, cannons. Even Hawaii, cannons. Cannons, yeah. Close to where I lived, Lassen Community College, they have a gunsmithing program at this community college, and they build cannons on a regular basis and shoot bowling balls. Fucking bowling balls are big. Shoot bowling balls out of these cannons. Biden's an idiot. He is hiding from fact and truth, but he's pushing an agenda of destruction and evil. Doc Holt checks in and says, a couple of years ago, everyone knew the government and big corporations lied. Now the sheep are begging to be told what to believe, and their complete fabrication of the facts are devoured. Well said. Yeah, I mean, we saw the lie pretty darn close after it started. They really did scare the living shit out of everybody. They had everyone convinced it was possible. We better lock down. 2 weeks, flatten the curve, help the hospitals get enough time to get all the bandages and all the stuff they need. Let's all come together, right? And they started that way, scared everyone. It was a lie. And they've been lying ever since. And there's those people, folks, and you know who they are because they're the sheep and they're in the sheep pen right over here. They're in the sheep pen. They're protected by Papa Joe and the Booster Rooster. They've done everything they've been told. They locked down. They stayed at home. They supported the essential workers. They accepted that they weren't essential. They kept their kids at home. They did distance learning, distance work. They did all they could to stop the spread. They shut down restaurants. They shut down gyms. They shut everything down. And it stopped nothing and it did nothing. But still the sheep insisted that the Booster Rooster and Joe Biden had all the answers they needed, right? 2 years later, they're pushing the same shit. In fact, they're giving up on the unicorn variant. The press is like, yeah, the unicorn variant numbers are diving. We've been told that, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever, so you can rest medicine called NyQuil will help you deal with sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head fever so you can rest. And so the unicorn has gone by the wayside. So they need a new boogeyman. Well, looks like they're going to try shifting gears altogether. Christine B. Hanna checks in and says, during the whole Cerveza hoax, I never knew anyone who died from it. As of last night, I lost another friend to the Jim Jones juice. So many friends have passed in the 10 months that my entire life, right? My eyes are just swollen from crying all the time. Note to self, toughen up, soldier. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a time to grieve and there's a time to fight. If you're not fighting, go ahead and grieve. I have no one in my life that has died from Cerveza bug. I have no one in my life that died with Cerveza bug. You know, a lot of people are really sick, ill. I know of people that almost died with Cerveza bug. You know, and it's terrible, right? But I don't, you know, I have people that have died from the Jim Jones juice. What does that tell you about the percentages? The percentages that, you know, and I talked about Randall a couple months ago. Yeah, he got it, folks. He got Jim Jones juice and kicked the bucket. A lot of people back there did. How is that better? How is that safer? It's not more effective. It's crazy, folks. It's absolutely insane. And they're still pushing it. They're pushing it on kids now. They're making kids wear frickin' masks when it's the statistics, the science says not necessary. Paranormal Prepper checks in. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while, man. He says this: would this country vote in a robot for president in the near future? Data was cool, LOL. Let's see. I'm going to go out here with some fun here. Al Bielek. He's dead now. Had nothing to do with Cerveza bug. Al Bielek died. He was the guy who claimed he worked on the Manhattan Project, worked on the Philadelphia experiment. Manhattan Project, that was the nuclear bomb. I can't remember if he had much to do with that or not. Nope, just the same scientists. Al Bielek claimed to be a time traveler. Interesting guy. I mean, fascinating to listen to, interesting to listen to. Hard to believe, but interesting. He said that in the future, he went back or forward for a time and was there in the future, and government was run administratively by robots. It's interesting, worth listening to this guy, whether he's telling the truth or not. You know, he tells a good story. Interesting. You know, the robots have rules and they're applied evenly to everybody. I wonder if that's not a good idea, right? To have robots instead of Democrats, and have robots instead of sellout Republicans. That's right. I'm going to change gears on you. Where are the Republicans over the January 6th protesters? I think every single Republican in the House of Representatives and the United States Senate should show up at the Washington, D.C. prison, the Gulag, the frickin' Bastille. They should show up there and demand every single one of them be released. And that they should stay there until they are done and let out. Because not one of the ones I know, not one of the January 6th protesters am I aware of committed an act of violence, had a weapon, nothing. Every last one of them that I've read their stories on, folks, they were there. They tried helping other people. Some of them walked into the Capitol. Some of them had police shoot tear gas, flashbangs, rubber bullets at them. You know, where are these people, right? And I know they've got a bigger job, more than one job, right? They can't just all stand out there and protest. But how about that? Why not do a Canadian trucker and just say, we're not going to show up in Congress. We're not going to show up in the House or the Senate until this January 6th bullshit is resolved. All these people deserve to be out on bail. Period. Their cases are shit. There is no insurrection. It's all a lie. And then Congress says, well, we can't get anything done. Right. That's how bad the injustice is, folks. We don't need a gulag. We don't need a Bastille in the United States of America. Washington, D.C., you are governed by the U.S. Constitution. The states are governed by state constitutions. The federal government is governed by the U.S. Constitution. Read it. Right? The 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 10th? Those amendments, they speak pretty loudly. How about the 14th? Check that one out for a bit. All right, moving on. I'm on my horse today. Folks, are you prepared? Do you see how screwed up we are? Scotty, beam me up, man. Do you see how jacked up things are? Jason Walker asks, your thoughts on all of us gun owners being on an FBI list. Are we on an FBI list or was it an HTF list? It just came out the other day. The Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms said they have 1 billion files, right? It was 1 billion different files. Well, I was under the impression there were like 600 million or 700 million guns. And there's 350 million Americans. So that barely gets us to that billion. Maybe it does, it doesn't. I guess what, they have a file on every human being? I don't know. What I do know is I don't see how this benefits us, the people. I don't see how our Second Amendment is being observed when I keep hearing about infringements on our rights, and especially on our First and Second Amendment rights. Folks, the First Amendment is in there to keep us from having to use the Second Amendment. They're destroying the First Amendment, our free speech, by censoring us and allowing the despotic government to take even more egregious actions on its own behalf. Media is helping out, so is the education system. And they're pushing now for our Second Amendment. First Amendment is there. The Second Amendment is there in case the first fails. Redress of grievance. That's what the January 6th protesters are doing. Protesting what was going on in the country. They didn't like what they were seeing. Agree with them or not, like it or not, they were protesting. I didn't see a whole lot of violence coming from them. I saw violence coming from agents provocateurs and from police officers. But even if you said all the violence on that day was caused by those Trump supporters, whom Trump didn't speak to encourage any kind of bad behavior, but all of that violence that day was nothing compared to the violence that was committed every single day by Antifa and BLM. While Democrats laughed, applauded, encouraged, allowed, forgave, and then bailed them out of jail, and even if they managed to get arrested after all of that. Oregon Patriot checks in and says, where do you see the Canadian trucker protest going? As long as tow truck drivers stand with them, all they can do is arrest drivers. But that's a lot. If a truck driver takes his truck, parks it in the middle of the street and walks away, kind of hard to arrest nobody. And if that truck is parked there and there's a truck behind it and a truck in front of it and a truck next to it and a truck on the other side, it ain't going nowhere. None of them are. Gridlock. What's more important, folks? What is more desirable? A country that is free to choose for themselves their own healthcare decisions and to have their rights respected? Or is it better to have a tyrannical government responsible to no one that makes up rules that it needs on a daily basis? I mean, I think it'd be better to have a country that was free. And so, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're pushing for it. I think they're going to stay there as long as it takes until the government says, yeah, we're done. Now, understand this. And this is the Ottawa government said, we will negotiate with you truckers. And this is what we'll give you in order to get you to move. And then the government lied and did not do what they said they were going to do. They acquiesced, but did not acquiesce. So the truckers are like, F you. That's what governments do, folks. They lie. And they continue to lie. If they say everyone is free and the truckers are like, yay, we go home. What are the odds that the Canadian government will say, yeah, we lied, screw you, F you, ha. It's going to get nasty. It's going to have to get nasty. My thing is I can imagine the Ottawa government saying, okay, no more mandates, no more passports, but not until April 1st. And the truckers are like, okay, yeah, April 1st, see you later, alligator. And they drive off. April 1st, April Fool's Day, ha, we're taking it back. You know, this is a big fear that people in England have. They were told they're done with the rules, regulations, masks, and mandates. What if Boris Johnson and the government changes its mind? It's funny how government can change its mind. Either there's science or there's not. Now, see, the truckers, even though they're just truckers, they have a bounty of medical fact. They have a bounty of medical evidence to support their demand for freedom. Not to mention they have a bountiful legal file, probably this thick, full of documentation about the rights of man. But that won't be heard, folks. I think it's going to be a long, drawn-out fight. I hope the Canadians understand. I hope they're happy about it. I hope they support these guys. I support them from down here in the deep south. The banjo players out there, they support it. It's going to be a hell of a show, folks. A hell of a show. Stay tuned. Share these videos with others. You've got to wake people up to think for themselves. Folks, I spent some time today. One last thing. I spent some time today trying to read the Democrat Jim Jones juice propaganda saying it's safe, it's effective, and it works, and we all need it. I listened to it, and it did make zero common sense. It had no logic. There was no critical thinking behind it. It was talking points that were contradictory to themselves and to the scientific information available. Unbelievable. In order to be protected, you have to get protected and then force everyone else to get protected. And even then, you're not really protected. Folks, the best protection is the Constitution of the United States. The law, your faith. Chance favors the prepared mind. Your preps are protection against government and SHTF. And until Scotty beams us all up, we're stuck down here in the middle of it. So get prepared. Godspeed to you. Semper Fi.